What's going on, everyone? Good morning. Happy Saturday. We made it to the weekend, and we are just a little more than a day away from, so far for the Seahawks, certainly the game of the year, one of the games of the year for the entire NFL. And when we get to the end of this season, we may look back at this game and say this game decided the division. We may look back at this game in LA and go, this game determined who won the West and who ended up with a wild card. So, plenty to talk about, plenty to get into here. And I'll tell you, it's nice to be participating in games like this again. It feels like it's been a little while since there was, I mean, we've had important regular season games, of course, but it's been a while since Seattle has been part of a juggernaut matchup in the regular season, I think. So, that alone, pretty cool. This video is sponsored by Manta and their Pro Sleep Mask. If you're tired of waking up every morning before your alarm goes off because the sun hits your face, this is a great product for you. The Manta Sleep Mask Pro blocks out every bit of light so you actually stay asleep. With the Manta Sleep Mask Pro, you get a total blackout when you try to sleep. The memory foam eye cups adjust to your face for a pressure-free fit, and the cooling materials make sure you stay comfortable even if you're a hot sleeper. If you're interested, go to mantasleep.com to look up not only their sleep mask, but their many other products associated with helping you get a better night's sleep. And don't forget to check out their many sleep mask accessories on Manta so you can customize your sleep experience for the best possible night. And don't forget to use my promo code SBN to unlock 10% off your purchase. Link in the video description. Okay, so we're 7-2, they're 7-2. Both teams have 2 losses, and both of those losses for both teams have come down to the last couple of minutes, the last couple of seconds, the last play almost. So there is a sense from both teams that they could be undefeated. So there's not much else to say other than both these teams are feeling really good about themselves. And odds are only one team's really going to feel good coming out of this upcoming game, but we got 2 really good teams here and I'm ready for it. And I'll tell you, I'm feeling pretty good about this matchup. I think this matchup has some things the Seahawks can take advantage of. I don't know if it'll be enough to win, but I do believe that this Seahawks team in particular has been trying to build up to beat this Rams team. You look at the Rams defensively. I'll start with that side of it. They're very good so far this year in terms of points allowed. They're like second or something in points allowed per game. They're in the top 5 for sure. They got one of the best defenses in football in terms of results. You look at their distribution of talent on defense, and it's a little bit surprising. This is not some star-studded defense full of household names right now. They've got great stuff going on with their front, right? Their defensive line, Jared Verse, maybe he's not having the great year rushing the passer that some people expected, but he's still very good, and he's excellent against the run, which helps mitigate some of that. Byron Young has been excellent. You've got Braden Fisk. You've got Kobe Turner, although we don't know how much he's going to be able to play in this game. Our old buddy Poona Ford. So there's a lot of good stuff happening with that front. They run the 3-4, by the way, so it is a 5-man front effectively. And then once you get past that, you look at some of these players, and part of you does kind of wonder, how did the Rams get such a great result from this group? Be right back with more on that. Hey everybody, Seahawks Brendan Nelson here to show you some really cool steel art for the 50th anniversary of the Seahawks and a Mariners medallion too, like the ones pictured above my head. My dad, aka Metal Hawk, has met over 300 Seahawks, dozens of Mariners, and some Sonics in his time, and now he's making unique steel art, special edition, and it can be yours for a donation directly to Fans for Good. Click the Facebook link down below for complete instructions. Back to the video. By the way, if you want to get in on that Metal Hawk thing, the deadline is actually this game. when this game is, I believe, over, or maybe it's when it starts. Point is, the deadline's tomorrow, so if you want in on getting one of those pieces of art, you should definitely take the steps today. All right. So anyway, back to the game. Yeah, their linebackers are okay. They got Landman in the middle there. He's been pretty good for them. They got well, they've really deprioritized the linebacker position in LA. They don't spend a lot of resources on it. They don't spend a lot of money on it. And I don't think that's a bad idea, but I don't think the players they have in the middle this year are great. And their secondary, while it is playing fairly well, I think that the Rams do a very good job of making their lives as easy as possible by not doing a lot of blitzing. And it works out for them because you look at the players in the secondary. I like Kinchins, but other than that, I don't know. Like Cameron Curl was a guy pretty much anybody could have had a couple years ago. He was just kind of floating around out there, and he's starting at the other safety spot. Kello Witherspoon is injured right now, so you've got Kobe Durant, and you've got Darius Williams. They've got what's the really skinny guy that Emmanuel Forbes back there as well. It's not really the cornerback room that you would expect to be boasted by one of the top NFL defenses, but they have found a way. And let me just say, first things first, Chris Shula, I think that guy needs to get a head coaching look at some point because he's doing a phenomenal job with this group. To have a top 5 scoring defense with that group where you've got a really stacked defensive line, but you've got limited resources to work with otherwise, and your best corner is injured, and you're still getting these results, that might be a guy to look for when you're trying to find a head coach next offseason. So that could be one of the guys that takes one of the openings that is likely to come up. But yeah, you look at it, and you cannot help but feel, I think, that this is something Seattle can find a way to exploit. If the front can hold up, if the offensive line can hold up, and look, Rams, they love their stunts, they love their twists, they love to bring, they don't, it's not blitzing, but it is finding ways to kind of trick and outsmart your offensive line with the kinds of pressures they send. And if the Seahawks can find a way to handle that, and that's not the easiest thing in the world. Remember, last year we played the Rams. Geno Smith got sacked 7 times, and it was all twists and stunts, and the offensive line didn't really know how to handle it. And we were running basically the spread offense with Grubb, so we didn't really have a plan B to kind of counter it with running the ball, so we just passed the ball a lot, and we lost. So, yeah, that's definitely, it's good that we've moved past that. It's good that we've now given ourselves some other ways to play on offense other than just throwing the ball all the time. And with this lighter LA front, because again, their front is good, but you do have a guy like Braden Fisk in there. You do have a guy like Kobe Turner in there. These are smaller, lighter players. And I think you can have some success if you run the ball up the middle. Run the ball between the tackles. Try to get push on those interior defenders. I'll throw Poona Ford in there as well. He's basically their nose tackle. So there are things you can do in the middle against that group. So that would be part of it. But don't be afraid to attack the secondary. You got to be careful. Remember, like I said, the Rams are not a team that's going to send a lot of blitzes, and I don't think they're going to blitz a lot in this game. So they're going to be free to double JSN some if they need to. They're going to be free to have defenders over the top on Shaheed. They're going to be able to do some stuff that some of these other teams have really struggled with, but they also don't have the tremendous cornerback talent that JSN has already shown he can beat. Like, you look at most of the teams we played this year, most of those teams, maybe even all of them, have a better number 1 corner than Kobe Durant or Darius Williams. Again, Akello is injured. He would be their top guy, but he is out. So therefore, don't be afraid to attack them with JSN down the field. This should be one of those teams that doesn't have a great answer for him. Their answer may be to bracket him, to throw 2 or even 3 defenders at him the whole game. And if they do that, then there are other things you can do as well. Shaheed, Hupp, maybe a little bit of a revenge game, even if he doesn't want to call it that. There are other things that you can do, but I believe that if this offensive line can hold up, there is damage to be done on the back end. So that's kind of the big challenge here. And I think that as long as you stick to the plan, you run the ball, even if the running game doesn't work great, even if you're not having a ton of success running the ball, just stick with it and let the game come to you. But I think against this front, you should be able to find some degree of success. As long as you're running the ball in the interior, attacking them where they are a little bit lightweight, you can make things happen. So that's the Seahawks offense. I'm not expecting something huge. I'm not expecting something over the top, but I am expecting a sound, solid game plan that should produce enough to give the team a chance to win. You're not going to go into LA and run the score up and dominate and have it so the game's over by the third quarter. I would never expect that, but I think the offense should do enough to give the team a chance to win. Now, defensively, this is where the chess match gets really intriguing. And the most interesting thing that the Rams are incorporating this year that you haven't necessarily seen from them a lot previously is the 13 personnel. They love to go 3 tight ends, and they also go 2 tight end at a very heavy rate. So you are going to see a massive amount of tight end action from the Rams in this game. And how the Seahawks respond to that is probably the most interesting subplot on that side of the ball, because how they respond to it will probably determine who wins this game. So let's think about this a little bit. What does 13 personnel really mean? I think that there are 2 things that a team instinctively wants to do against 13 personnel. Number 1 is go into base formation with 2 corners and a bunch of linebackers on the field. They want to go into that 4-3 or 3-4 base, and they also want to blitz a lot. And most teams that the Rams have played so far this year have done those 2 things. They go into base when the Rams bring out their 2 tight end or 3 tight end sets, and they blitz a lot. And I think both of those things have been a disaster for the opposing teams. You don't want to blitz Stafford, number 1. Stafford is not the quarterback to blitz. He's seen everything. He knows everything that's coming his way. You're not going to surprise him. You're not going to rattle him. Not to say he doesn't make mistakes, but he's not typically going to get beat by a blitz that he didn't see coming. That's just not a realistic way to get to Stafford. And I think that while most teams are obligated to switch to going to base when they're playing heavy tight end sets, this Seahawks team has shown they're willing to stay in nickel even against these big packages. And they trust their guys, even their secondary guys, to come up and play the run and do what they need to do to limit the damage on the ground, even when they decide to stay in nickel. So, therefore, I'm very interested to see how the Seahawks handle the jumbo stuff. When the Rams go to 3 tight ends, are we going to stick it out in nickel? Or do you see us bring those 3 down linemen plus the 2 edges on the field? Do we switch things up a little bit, do things differently, and basically try to match what the Rams are doing with personnel? And I don't think we need to. You've got, of course, Devin Witherspoon out there, fantastic player against the run. Nick Eamon-Worry, big nickel, often acting as kind of a extra linebacker out there. This is a team that should be able to continue to do what they want to do without sacrificing too much against the run. Because the thing with this Rams team is they're kind of like Seattle. They don't run the ball super effectively, but they will stick to the run. So if you're a team and you try to live in nickel against the Rams, then they will probably eventually wear you down because they'll just keep running it until you fall over. So if Seattle can find a way to stay in nickel and still stop the run enough to force LA into passing situations, I think things get very favorable very quickly for Seattle here. And if they pull that off, then I think that is probably the big counter that LA hasn't really seen so far this year. Other than that, don't blitz Stafford. Like I said, you're not going to beat him that way. I don't think you need to. Stafford has struggled this year when opposing teams get pressure with four, and I think that especially if Davante Adams is limited in this game, and I know they said he's going to play, and I think that he will play, but if he is not able to do the things that he typically does, which I think is a reasonable assumption, then it's going to be a lot harder for him to do what he needs to do. And remember, while he may not be 100% himself, we got Ernest Jones back. And Ernest Jones, not a stellar cover player necessarily individually, but he is a great antidote for the Rams' beloved dig routes with his zone drops. Having Ernest Jones out there for this game is massive. To me, it could be the difference between a win and a loss. I will not be surprised if Ernest Jones makes some big play in coverage this week where we look at it and we go, I don't know if Tyrese Knight would have made that play. I don't know if, any generic linebacker in the league could have made that play. So Nick Eamon-Worry, by the way, also an excellent counter for Puka. So I'm very interested to see if Eamon-Worry can hold up against Puka. Eamon-Worry, big guy, long guy, got great length, got that speed. Puka is a guy who doesn't get a ton of separation, but he beats you by being more physical at the point of catch a lot and just kind of finding a way to make these low percentage catches at a high high percentage rate. So if Eamon-Worry can use his length to bother that and make that worse than it typically is, there really isn't that much else on this Rams offense to think about. Of course, Kyron's putting up numbers, but he's not a stellar running back. He's just he's decent, and the Rams stick to him because that's their game plan this year. And then you've got, like I said, Davante Adams, Puka. Nobody else on this Rams team is really tearing things up. Colby Parkinson, Terrence Ferguson, Tyler Higbee, they have those guys, and they're a part of what the Rams are doing this year because they're running three tight ends so much. But we're not really seeing those guys have dominant games and just carry the Rams to victory single-handedly. They're contributing a little bit here and there and doing some good stuff just with their presence on the field. But I don't think those are the guys that are going to beat you. I don't think those are the guys who are going to just carry the team on their back. They're not that kind. So, yeah, I like the matchup. I think the matchup has some things that we can take advantage of, some things in our favor. And I'll tell you, I'm not feeling too bad about this. Especially if Davante and Kobe Turner are not themselves. And I seriously doubt either guy will be themselves, even if they do play. So I am feeling maybe a little bit better than I should. I don't really think so. I think that if you're a Seahawks fan going into this game, you should feel pretty good. And if you're a Rams fan, you should be going into this game feeling pretty good about your team. So I don't think there's anything wrong with seeing things from a positive perspective on either side of it. All right. So I think that's really about it. We've got a special teams advantage. The Rams have had real problems with their kicker this year, Carty. Carty has not been has not been very effective. He's I think he's missed 6 kicks already this year, kicking at a 66% clip or something like that. Maybe there's an advantage to be had there because the Seahawks do have one of the best special teams units in the league so far. Maybe the game-winning plays made on that end. So I am scared of playing in LA. I don't like playing in LA. Bad things happen. Things rarely go Seattle's way. But I look at this matchup and I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. I feel like we can run the ball on that front. I feel like we can have exactly what LA hasn't seen yet to counter what they're doing offensively this year. So I'm going to go with Seattle 27, LA 24. I think it's going to be close. Won't surprise me if it goes the other way. I'm not going to be devastated and dejected and pessimistic about the team if they lose a close game. This is the kind of game where there's not necessarily going to be any shame in dropping it. But I look at it and I go, I feel like we've got what we need. I feel like that in a game like this, you might even be happy that a guy like Oluwatimi's out there instead of Jalen Sundle because of the stuff that Oluwatimi brings that Sundle really struggles to bring. We'll see. I'm ready for it. Really excited to see it. I'm really excited to see it pretty much no matter what the outcome is. Of course, I don't want to get drilled, but I don't know. I'm not terribly worried about getting blown out. I don't think this team is going to have a letdown game for what is clearly being built up to be a Game of the Year candidate. All right, longer than I usually go on these pregame videos, but I figured it was warranted for this one because there's so much going on here. And look, if we win this game, everything changes Monday morning. Monday morning, we're not a sleeper anymore. Everybody's going to be talking about us, and we will have fully arrived. So, see you guys later for the Huskies game. Probably another video at some point later today. Go Hawks, and let's get it.